One of the first discoveries that scientists made that begins to link us to these ancient and indigenous and some of our most cherished spiritual traditions, one of those discoveries is in the human heart. 1991, scientists discovered the existence of about 40,000 specialized cells in the human heart. They're called sensory neurites. That's a technical term for what are essentially brain-like cells, but they're not in the cranial brain, they're in the heart. But they play the same function in the heart as the neurons in our brain. These cells, they think independently of the brain. They feel independently. They remember independently of what's happening in our brain. Now, this changes everything, because every time you and I have a deeply significant emotional experience, this discovery tells us that we are registering that experience not just in the memory of our brain, but in the memory of our heart. Now, if the emotional experience is an experience of joy and ecstasy, it's probably not a problem. We can have a lot of joy and ecstasy in our heart and our brain. However, many of us have had trauma in our lives. And sometimes we're aware of the trauma, sometimes we're not. Sometimes the trauma happens to us when we're so young that our bodies don't know how to deal with that trauma. So what happens is we store the information of the trauma in the cells of our bodies and the memories. Sometimes the memories are in the brain, sometimes the memories are in the heart. And we get to be adults. We're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and we're having health issues that are the result of unresolved trauma. And so we go into a counselor, we go into therapy, and we try to access the memories so that we can heal that trauma. And sometimes it works through the memories of the brain, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you're having this kind of experience, if you have trauma in your life and counseling has only been partially successful, or therapy has been partially successful, this may be the reason why, because the counseling may be, or the therapy may be only addressing the mind. What about the heart? So the new discoveries are telling us that these 40,000 specialized cells in the heart, they're concentrated in a way that's actually called the little brain in the heart. And interestingly, the cells are all concentrated around the places in the heart that affect the rest of our health, around where the blood flow comes in, the arteries where the blood comes in and where the blood leaves. And these neurons are directed by our perceptions, our feelings, our emotions. So when we feel safe in the world, we're sending a safe signal to these neurons, and they're allowing the blood to flow in a very precise way and create a special chemistry. They send a signal to the brain that says, we are safe, so we don't need fight or flight chemistry. We can focus on healing and regeneration chemistry. And when we feel threatened, when we're not safe, just the opposite happens. We shut down the healing. We shut down the growth. We shut down the regeneration because we're focused on safety, on fight or flight. Well, if you have unresolved trauma and it is underlying a subconscious memory and you don't know that, and you are constantly in fight or flight subconsciously, this helps to understand where some of the illness and where some of those patterns of disease come from. It also helps to understand how we can very quickly alleviate those symptoms by going into the memories in the heart. But this is where some of the new discoveries are coming from. So the discovery of 40,000 neurons in the heart, that's an important discovery. The next piece is that once scientists found these 40,000 neurons in the heart, what they began to recognize very quickly is that it is possible to harmonize the neurons in the brain and the neurons in the heart. So think about what I'm saying here. These are two separate organs, but it's possible to harmonize them into one potent system. No other form of life can do this on demand like you and I can. We're the only form of life that can consciously, in a moment in time, Sit down and say, in this moment, I choose to harmonize these two vital organs in my body into a single system that may serve me. When we harmonize the heart and the brain into a single system, all kinds of benefits are available to us. Just by harmonizing the heart and the brain, for example, just through the harmonization, without doing anything else, we trigger the longevity enzymes that repair the telomeres and heal the DNA in our bodies. We actually can reverse the biological markers for aging. So chronologically, we will all be 5 minutes older in 5 minutes. And you don't really care about that. Biologically, the question is, do you age and deteriorate in those 5 minutes? And the answer is, you don't need to, because it's possible to age forward in time, but biologically, the markers to reverse. We can actually create younger telomeres, younger DNA at an advanced age through harmonizing the heart and the brain, relieving the stress in the body, and allowing these enzymes to do what they are designed to do, to repair and heal and regenerate the DNA. So this is one benefit from harmonizing the heart and the brain, just one. We trigger these longevity enzymes. Number two, we trigger a very powerful immune response. Just from harmonizing the heart and the brain, you strengthen your immune system. Number three, we create resilience to the changes in our lives. I began speaking to you about the changes in the world and the changes in your life and my life. We're not going to stop the changes, but we have the ability to embrace those changes in a really healthy way. And one of the ways of doing that is to create resilience. Resilience is a function of the heart. When we harmonize the heart and the brain, we increase what is called heart rate variability, HRV. Every time your heart beats, when you see boom, 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 the time from one peak to the next, to the next, to the next, that time varies only slightly by milliseconds. But the key is this: when we are young in life, we have a lot of variability from beat to beat to beat. It's called heart rate variability, or HRV. So young people typically have high HRV because they have to respond quickly to what's happening in life. When we're young, we have to figure stuff out quick. Typically, not for everyone, but typically as we get older, we begin to lose that heart rate variability. The beat becomes more regular. The time from one beat to the next becomes closer and closer and closer together. And when that happens, we actually lose heart rate variability. We lose resilience. And this is why for sometimes older people, change becomes very difficult, because we become set in our ways, is the term. We expect the world and other people to behave in a certain way. Well, I'm sharing this with you because it is possible to regain that heart rate variability at any age, any point in your life. When you harmonize the heart and the brain, it is possible through that heart-brain harmony, you increase heart rate variability and you increase the resilience that you have to life. So it can happen at any point. This is just another one of the benefits. Other benefits include direct access to deep intuition. When you need to know the answer to something that's happening in your life, and there's no one to ask, no one to turn to, you Google the answer and it's not there. Every friend you talk to gives you a different suggestion, different recommendation. Who do you ask? Well, your heart always has the answer for you. I have a good friend of mine right now that was given a diagnosis of a life-threatening condition of cancer. And everyone he asks gives him a different opinion about what to do for his cancer. The doctor says, go the chemical route, of course, chemo and radiation. His mom is afraid she's going to lose her son. So she says the same thing, do what the doctor says. His friends are New Thought, New Age. They say use herbs, use the mushrooms, use meditation. And he asked me, he says, what should I do? And I said, If I tell you I'm just adding to the many opinions that you have, I said, I can give you my opinion, but only your heart knows for sure. Go in and ask your heart. And he says, well, what do you mean? I want you to know that access to deep intuition, access to your subconscious, when you're creating affirmations for health and healing in life, they're only effective if you communicate with your subconscious in a language that your subconscious recognizes. And sometimes it's not verbal, it's not words. It is an emotional signal. So all of these are benefits and more that are possible through the harmonization of the heart and the brain, through the neurons in the heart and the neurons in the brain that have only been discovered recently. 2 organs, 1 system.